Hello guys, this is Rito, and today we're taking another look at fixing a Warcry warband that's on the lower end of the tier list. So today's warband will be the Ironjawz. As we usually do, let's first have a look at what makes them a bit weaker than other warbands, and then we'll try to tackle those specific issues in order to make them more competitive. So let's see here. The damage is average, right? 17 points in this ranked system would be average, so the damage output is fine. Survivability is very good. 31 is almost top spot there, so this isn't the issue. And now we get to the problematic stuff, which is movement. All of the Ironjawz have 3 movement. Obviously, that's an issue. And another issue is model number. So having a low model number in Warcry means that you'll be out-activated, so your opponent can still activate fighters after you've done all your moves, which is can be very bad sometimes. And on the other hand, if you're playing objective-based games, where it counts who has more models around one objective, it's very important to have a sufficient amount of models to really hold those objectives. So having only few models in the warband is quite bad for that. Then obviously they don't have range, no flying, and what is very good about them though are their abilities. So really the two big determining issues here are the model number and the movement allowance. So what could we do about this? Well, I had a look at the Ironjawz roster, and there's one unit that's missing. And I think this is quite important, because other warbands have riding units. So why would the Ironjawz not get the Gore Grunter? So what I did here was taking the Gore Grunter, and I gave him the same profile used by the Corn Demon's Blood Crusher, because I think they are very similar units in how they work, right? They are both riding, they are both using the same base size. They are meant to be very tough, not super fast, but at 6 movement they are double the speed of all other models, so still quite good, especially for the Ironjawz, I think. And relatively tough, high wound count, so they won't go down easily. And with 4-4-2-4, this is still a decent attack profile to make them have an impact on the game. And I think at 185 points, that's a fair price. It's not ridiculously expensive, but it's also not going to increase the number of fighters you can bring in a warband. So let's have a look at this. I added him obviously into this file as well, where you can see the average damage per activation and so on. So you can see his damage is average, his survivability is pretty good. Now the reason I added him and the reason I think he's going to be important is that traditionally the way you play Ironjawz, you place most of your fighters in one battle group, sorry. So you obviously have to split your fighters into dagger, shield, and hammer. And usually when playing Ironjawz, you want to have most of your fighters in one battle group, because that will allow you to get the most value out of the war. So just to remind you, the war is the leader ability that allows all fighters to move to increase their movement allowance by the value of the ability. So if you have a 3-3, all fighters will now have 6 movement instead of 3. All fighters that start the move within 6 inches of your war boss. So that is very good. It's a very strong ability and kind of works against the movement issues. However, it forces you to go most fighters in one battle group, and then maybe just one in each of the others, which obviously leaves you with a lot less battlefield control. And if you are unlucky and your shield is very far away from the objectives, or it only comes on turn 2 or something, you're losing a lot of value. So having the Gore Grunters to probably be those one models you want to have in your other battle groups would allow you to still have an impact with the other battle groups and not just lag behind. Because if you have, let's say, an art boy in your dagger and he comes on a corner, it's going to take him the entire 3 turns of a game just to ever make it into the combat. So that's really bad in my opinion. So yeah, that's what the Gore Grunter would do for you. Now that's the one thing I would add. And now this kind of helps with the movement, obviously. Now we identified another big issue, which is the issue that they can't really play the objective game. They have too few models to really hold objectives. So let's have a look at abilities here. I'm not going to go through all abilities, you know most of them. I'm just going to highlight this one for now, which is the double, which all art boys with shields get. The art boys with shield get their own unique double, which means when they finish a move action on a 4+, they can deal 1 damage, and on a 6 damage equal to the ability. I think this ability is completely useless. If you've ever used it, you should be ashamed of yourself. No, I'm joking, sorry. But it's really bad, because you could instead just use the free move action, right? It's both a double, and a free move action is going to allow you to attack once more. So if you can get to an opponent within 1 move and then still use this thing, you could instead just get a free move and then attack the opponent. And attacking the opponent will almost always get you a lot more damage than using this weird shield bash thing. Which, yeah. So I think this ability is totally worthless. I also think the art boy with shield is pretty worthless. So honestly, I would throw this ability out and instead give the Gore Grunter an ability. And I would call it Mark Territory. So that would make it so that a Gore Grunter counts as 2 models towards objectives for this turn, until the end of the battle round, obviously. So I think that would make that would really help against that problem of having fewer models in the opponent, because being able to run in there with a Gore Grunter with 6-inch move, which is quite good, and then marking territory, so so you could have like more models in quotes, but count as 2 models. I think that would make this warband a lot more competitive. It would allow you to win on objective games quite a few more times. It would allow you to get into the fights you want to and not be reliant on war alone. Yeah, I think that's all the Ironjawz need, really. I think they are close to being a good warband, if only Games Workshop had decided to put in the Gore Grunter from game 1. Right, please do let me know what you think about these changes. I would love to hear from you, and thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.